Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
Positronic Hypersonic.
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the second and third episodes of Season 2 of Daredevil, Born Again. The first of the two was called Shoot the Moon. And as the episode starts, we realize that Cherry has survived his ordeal with Fisk's corrupt task force, as we see him hauled away in an ambulance. As for Fisk, he's busy preparing for an upcoming boxing match, and is none too pleased upon hearing that his former employee is working against him, namely Bullseye. As for Bullseye, he's seen in a church, but not just any church. The same church where Matt was nursed back to health by Sister Maggie, who of course was later revealed to be his mother, in Season 3 of the original Netflix show. Bullseye, aka Poindexter, even says that he's looking for Sister Maggie, only to be told by the church's new priest that she's out of the country. Meanwhile, Matt is able to gauge that Bullseye appears to be going after Fisk and his empire rather than Daredevil, but Karen is a bit more skeptical, mainly because, of course, Poindexter is responsible for Foggy's murder and of nearly killing her as well. Meanwhile, Fisk's office is in crisis management mode, with a wide variety of issues plaguing it, including the missing crew of the sunken ship, the masked Fisk impersonator exposing the mayor's corruption online, and a potential team-up between Daredevil and Bullseye. Amid all this, Buck suggests a major power play on behalf of the mayor, which would be revealing that Daredevil's secret identity is Matt Murdock, but Fisk is reluctant to reveal this to the public, especially after Matt saved him from being shot to death at the end of last season. Instead, Fisk plans to do the opposite and praise Matt as a hero to curry favor with his constituents, while Buck tries to track down the imposter kingpin, later revealed to be B.B. Ulrich. While Matt and Fisk each plan their next steps, and Bullseye continues to assassinate loyal anti-vigilante task force agents, something even more harrowing is taking place in Hell's Kitchen. We find Soledad and Angela, wife and niece of the late White Tiger, quickly getting caught up in another scuffle in which the AVTF is, well, basically violating citizens' constitutional rights. Soledad is captured and brought to the AVTF's detention center, though Angela escapes and concludes that there's only one way to save her aunt, and that is using her late uncle's magical amulet to become the new White Tiger. We then get a crazy action scene where the AVTF raids Matt and Karen's hideout before the episode ends with a revelation that Karen has captured one of the AVTF agents. Episode 3, the next episode, was called The Scales and the Sword, and as it starts, we pick up right where episode 2 ended, with Matt finding out that Karen has abducted an AVTF member during the raid on their hideout. It's revealed that this agent no longer wants anything to do with the AVTF and their criminal tactics. Matt's ability to detect heartbeats makes it plain that this agent is telling the truth and really does want out of Fisk's criminal activities. Meanwhile, the swordsman, aka Jack Duquesne, is preparing to face judgment for his alleged vigilante crimes, with Matt Murdock's law firm partner, Kristen McDuffie, representing him. She even interviews him in Fisk's top secret detention center, the very same one that Frank Castle escaped from in the end credits scene of Season 1, where all the Kingpin's enemies are being caged like animals in absolutely deplorable conditions. Duquesne is already fighting losing battles, since the courts are clearly rigged against him, and the psychiatrist in Fisk's pocket, Heather Glenn, altered his interview results. McDuffie puts up a fight to try to defend her client, but it's all in vain. To the surprise of no one, Duquesne is found guilty of masquerading around New York as the swordsman and is sent back to his squalid confines. Still focused on preserving his identity, Daredevil meets with McDuffie to learn if she can point him toward Frank's detention center. McDuffie doesn't think she'll be too much help because she was blindfolded to protect the center's location, but that's not an issue for the superpowered blind man with heightened senses. Thanks to McDuffie's brief yet helpful descriptions, Matt and Karen are able to quite literally sniff out Fisk's seedy detention center. The conditions they find there are predictably horrific, prompting them to work to try to free all of these people. But it's not too long before Daredevil is detected by the AVTF while helping the prisoners escape, which leads to an absolutely bonkers and very cool action sequence. While Matt and Jack are fighting for their lives, Karen has a run-in with Angela, who now possesses her Uncle Hector's amulet. She's there to save her aunt Soledad, but she'll need to move fast as the organization's higher-ups have authorized lethal force on all the escapees and those trying to help them. Fortunately, Matt, Karen, and Angela are successfully able to extract the prisoners and bring them to safety. Before Matt and Karen are able to get back to their hideout, Fisk detonates the ship that was carrying Mr. Charles's illegal weapons, destroying a great deal of evidence of any wrongdoing, and also giving him something else to pin on Daredevil and New York's alleged vigilante epidemic. And that's where the episode ended. So I'm not really sure why they decided to do 2 episodes this week when the premiere was just 1 episode. Normally, when they do a double up, it's on the premiere week, and then the rest of the episodes are all coming out one at a time. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I thought these episodes did a good job of moving the plot forward. And, I especially liked the sequences with, BB doing her parody videos of the mayor. I think that those are really cool and very reminiscent of what Anonymous does, in the real world. And I think it's great that they're getting under the mayor's skin and driving him insane. So I think that's awesome. Another cool thing about these episodes is that in one of them, there was a scene that was cutting back and forth between Karen and Matt in bed in their sort of squalid, hideout, and Kingpin and Vanessa in bed in their luxurious, apartment or whatever, and, talking about the events of the day and the times that they're in. And it was interesting because the, sort of underdogs in the situation, Matt and Karen, who are fighting from a position of being on their heels, up against the powerful city government run by a lunatic, seem to have more hope and more belief in themselves and belief that they're doing the right thing and I guess overall strength than did the mayor and Vanessa, who seemed to me to sort of be white knuckling it through everything that's been happening. And they feel very much sort of under siege and seem to be feeling that they're fighting from a position of being back on their heels when really they're not. And, they seem to be more scared than hopeful, though hiding it. And I thought that was very interesting because they're the ones in the seat of power. They're the ones with all the, resources. And you can tell that they're kind of like the worse for wear for it. Where Matt and Karen might be a little frazzled, but they're sort of energized by the fact that, things are bad and they're the only ones who can fix it. It seems to invigorate them. So I just thought that was a very interesting juxtaposition. And I don't think it was an accident that we were supposed to get that message because the way they cut back and forth between the scenes and the way in which the scenes were similarly set, I think was trying to drive home this point that the opposites are sort of in opposite positions than what you might think they would be because of circumstances. So I just thought it was really cool. Matt and Karen seem to be, on the same page and united for the most part, whereas Kingpin and Vanessa kind of seem like they're in their own orbits and, have allegiances to each other, but are mainly, islands in the stream to themselves individually. They don't seem as united, even though they are sort of going through the motions of being united. So I just thought that was really cool. The action sequences, of course, are insane. Just fantastic fight sequences and everything. And you can't, ignore the fact that these stories are mirroring what's happening in real life. And some people have picked on the show for that, saying that they're, deliberately putting out like an anti-Orange Man agenda. And they're trying to, put out a bunch of propaganda against the same individual. But they're really not. They're just telling a story about a corrupt character from the comics, Kingpin, who happened to become mayor on the show, which he also did in the comics, and the machinations that he's going through to create more power for himself and to retain whatever power he already has. And that's an old story in media. It's not a new story. It just so happens that what's going on in the real world all of a sudden is mirroring that kind of insanity. And so they're seeing the correlation, but it's not deliberate. It's just because that's what's happening in the story. And it just happens to be happening in real life. So it's just crazy and I love it. But that's really it. So I'm going to get out of here before I start repeating myself. I'll be back to review the next episode after it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.